Hey guys, I'm Jen. Welcome to my channel. So, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I am obsessed with urban legends. So, today I'm going to be starting a new series on my channel about urban legends, which, yes, I realize that there are so many videos out there about urban legends, but I would be doing this research on my own, so I thought maybe I may as well just make a video about it to share it with you guys because somebody else might be interested in it too. So this week I am going to start off with my absolute favorite urban legend, which is the legend of the Black-Eyed Children. Okay, so Black-Eyed Children are paranormal creatures that look like children, usually between the ages of 6 and 16. They have black eyes and pale skin. They are usually seen hitchhiking or on people's doorsteps. The most common reports of black-eyed children are those of them appearing on your doorstep. You might be sitting alone in your living room watching television when suddenly you hear a knock on your front door. Peering through your door, you might see a couple of small children who will ask you to come in. Usually, people report feeling unsettled or that there is something wrong with these children even before they see their eyes. If you refuse, the children begin to become more aggressive, demanding that you let them in. You might even feel yourself slowly opening the door against your own will, until suddenly you'll snap out of it at the last minute and slam the door shut. I couldn't find any reports of what might happen if you actually let a black-eyed kid into your house, but the rumors are terrifying. Based on everything I saw, the origin of this urban legend were some posts on a ghost-related mailing list written by a Texas reporter named Brian Bethel in 1996. He described 2 encounters with these black-eyed kids in Abilene, Texas, and also claims that another person had a similar and unrelated encounter in Portland, Oregon. So here's where I got a bit confused because I saw some information that the guy said he was just trying to keep up with the demand for urban legends, and some people are calling his stories classic examples of creepypasta, which honestly, I'm also very obsessed with creepypasta, so if you guys are interested, maybe I will make some videos on those later. But I've also seen things saying where he reported in a follow-up article that he believes that what he saw was real, so honestly, I don't know. But either way, whether or not this urban legend is real can be debated, but for now I would like to read a few of the creepiest stories about black-eyed children that I was able to find online. This story is called You Must Let Me In. On March 17, 2008, I had my one and only encounter with a black-eyed kid. Before my experience, I had never heard of anything having to do with the black-eyed kids. I was 12. I was sitting outside a hairdresser's in an old Chevy pickup waiting for my mom to get her hair cut. About 15 minutes had passed and I saw some kid walking back and forth along the sidewalk in front of my parked car. At first, I thought I recognized him as one of my friends from school, so I banged on the front windshield until he looked my way. It was not anyone I knew. At this point, I was not scared at all. Not yet. The boy walked over to the side of my car and just stares. I think to let me get a good look at his eyes, to freak me out. Let me tell you, I have never seen a black-eyed kid. Oh, if you have never seen a black-eyed kid, you have no idea what to imagine. Pupils black as the night sky. The boy whispers, "You must let me in," and then I lock the car doors and duck down into the space below the seats. 5 minutes later, he was gone. When my mother got into the car, she told me about a boy with black eyes that had come into the hairdresser's and had insisted for my mother to give him the keys to the car. She refused. Thank God she did. This story is called Midnight Caller. It almost felt like a dream. I woke up to my dog, Lucy, barking. She was upright on the bed where my husband and I were sleeping with our 22-month-old daughter, staring at our door like an unknown stranger was outside rummaging around. I thought she was just freaking out over a house noise. We'd only had her for 3 months, and she was still a puppy. It could have been anything. Our roommate, a creep from the house settling, the awnings moving outside in the breeze. I wasn't too concerned initially. I decided the best bet would be to open the door and show her that nothing was there. It sounds a bit silly, but it's what we do with our daughter when she gets scared, and I figured it would work with a puppy too. I opened the door and she raced to the front door. She stood there, snarling at the door. It was an angry, violent growl, one I had never heard her make before. I looked groggily at her and opened the baby gate, blocking the doorway, planning to open the door to show her everything was okay. The second my hand reached for the deadbolt, Lucy went wild. She started barking and jumped toward me, and when I touched the metal, she suddenly changed her temper. She whimpered, almost like she was afraid, and backing down. Her mannerism changed, so did mine. I wasn't calm anymore. My heart was racing and sinking at the same time. I had been flooded with a mixture of fear and dread. I looked through the peephole. I can't explain why I looked, but I did. Outside were two kids. One was just a smidgen shorter than me and didn't look much younger. I'm 21, and she looked to be about 16 or 17. She was slender and pale. Her hair was a light shade of honey blonde, and she wore it long, about mid-back, with long, thin, blonde bangs in the front that covered most of her eyes. She wore jeans, a light wash that's popular right now, and a thin olive-colored pullover style hoodie. She held the hand of a small girl who looked to be around 3 or 4, in the same style jeans and a buttoned-down ivory cardigan. The smaller one looked at the floor shyly, but had the same shade of hair tied back in a ponytail. She held a stuffed toy under her free arm, and it was identical to one my daughter has, as was their style of dress. Had it not been for the feeling of overwhelming dread and fear, I probably would have asked these children in and given them some tea or hot chocolate to get them out of the bitter cold. Something about them seemed off at this point. I hadn't made any noise. I hadn't shushed the dog or grumbled, nothing. I hadn't turned on any lights. These kids had no indicators that I was at the door. The older one spoke. She had a voice that was mature, confident, strong, and accentless. She held her head tilted downward, and I couldn't see her eyes. She said, "We have to use your phone." I stood, frozen in fear. How did she know I was there? She raised her head to face me directly, and that was when I saw her eyes. There was a reason I couldn't see them through her bangs before. They were black, or midnight blue, or dark, dark purple. They were otherworldly. She said, "Our mother is worried." As someone who has always been interested in creepy stories, I knew what she was the second she looked at me through the door. I have never been one to believe in these things. As a staunch atheist and a skeptic when it comes to the paranormal, I had written off many a ghost story from friends and family members eager to tell their tale. I didn't believe it. Still, I couldn't rationalize my way out of this. I was standing with nothing but a thin wooden door between me and a black-eyed kid. There was no questioning what was right in front of me. I did not answer her. Slowly and silently, I backed away from the door, Lucy still cowering at my ankles. She kept talking. "Just let us in to use your phone." I took another step back, and with that step, the tone changed. At first, she seemed polite. When I took the second step back, she became commanding, almost hostile. "We're not going to hurt you. If we wanted to do that, we would have broken in. I'll ask again, may we come in and use your phone?" Lucy snarled at the door, and I inched backwards, though something inside me seemed to be slowly pulling me back toward the door. It wasn't physical pulling so much as a subconscious need to go back and let them in. I got to my room, covered up the window, locked the door, and sat there in the dim light of the nightlight. I heard her call me back to the door once more, and then quiet. I didn't go back to sleep that night, and I haven't slept right since. I know from reading about them that black-eyed kids can't come in without permission. I know they haven't hurt anyone, but I still fear I'll be the exception. When I told my husband, he said it was just a dream. He keeps telling me to forget it, but this lingering feeling of sadness, this dread when the house is silent at night, this fear of a knock at the door. Okay. This is called trick or treat. This really freaked me out. Yesterday, I noticed my neighbor hadn't put out all his Halloween decorations, lights, etc. The past 2 years I've lived next to him, he's gone all out for Halloween. I don't know him well. He's younger, single, but I know he likes kids, not in a creepy way. His brother and sister-in-law and their kids are always visiting him, and he plays with his 3 young nieces and nephews out in the yard. So, Anyway, I got home from work and I was walking up my driveway and I saw him outside and said something like, "Hey man, you better get your Halloween stuff up or that house up the street is going to beat you for best decorations." He kind of smiles sheepishly and says that he's actually going to keep his house dark this year and just put candy out. I asked him if he was going out of town, but he said no, something happened last year that really scared him. Now, I was pretty concerned for my own safety if some weirdos were coming around our neighborhood, which is a pretty safe neighborhood, with tons of young families living here. So I asked him what happened. He said last year that he had his brother's family over so they could trick or treat in the neighborhood since they live in an apartment complex that doesn't do much for Halloween. He had a bunch of kids come to the door like always. His family took off around 10:30 and there were only a few older trick-or-treaters, but by 11:30 they were pretty much done. So he was inside watching TV and the doorbell rings. He grabs the candy bowl and heads over, noticing that it's a little past midnight and that's pretty rude for trick-or-treaters to still be out. But then he notices he hasn't turned off all his decoration lights yet, so his house is still a beacon. He swings the door open and is about to yell boo or something to freak them out, but stops dead when he sees the kids at the door. He said one was probably around 13 or 14 and the other around 16, 17, both boys. They weren't dressed up, but he remembers the older one was wearing a flannel checkered shirt. He was immediately overcome with uneasiness, like opening the door was a huge mistake. They just stared at him and he noticed they had really big irises and dilated pupils. He couldn't even see the whites of their eyes, so he figured they were contact lenses. He was frozen there, holding the candy bowl, like he couldn't slam the door in their face as much as he wanted to. So he nervously tried to smile at them, hoping they would break character and ask for candy or something. The younger one said they had gotten lost and needed to come in and use his phone. This was when he closed the door more than halfway on them and said, "No, sorry." And the older one said something like, "Can we just wait in your house until our parents come get us?" But by then, he was convinced that his life was in danger and these kids must be high on something or intending to rob him, and he just kept mumbling, "No, sorry, good night," and inched the door closed and locked it. He told me he was so effing scared at that point that they were going to try to break in through one of his windows or something, but he looked through the peephole and they had turned to leave. He watched TV with the volume really low so he could hear any sounds at all, and he stayed up till like 5 a.m. because he was too scared to go to bed and drop his guard. The whole time he's telling me this, I'm thinking, oh my god, this sounds so familiar, like the Black-Eyed Children's urban legend. Then I thought, hey, maybe this dude is trying to scare me because, after all, he does have the Halloween spirit. So I'm looking at him incredulously, but trying not to seem too gullible. So I'm like, man, that's really crazy. It sounds like the Black-Eyed Kids. And alright, so that is everything I have for you guys this week. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I've been very excited to start this series. If you did like it, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up, maybe even comment telling me your favorite urban legend, and I could research that one and do a video on that one next time. And also just subscribe because that'd be super cool. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Okay, bye! He looks at me blankly, like, what, is that a movie or something? And I said no, and I told him to go look it up online. Like an hour later, I get a knock on my door and, admittedly, almost jump out of my skin thinking it's a demon child. It was my neighbor, and his eyes were freaking huge. He swears to me up and down that he had never heard of the BEKs before, and it's so similar to what happened to him. So we talked a while longer, and I told him that quite a few people probably know about the urban legend, and it's possible that it was just teenagers with black scleral contacts trying to freak people out on Halloween, which would be genius, by the way. But he said the fear he felt was so primal and had come over him the second he opened the door for them.